everybody, it is me, your all-time favorite master baker, Richard Blyle. But instead of baking today, because we're all going to be baking in this heat for the next few days, I'm cooking instead. I'm making a very special Louisiana dish, as I understand it. It's from Louisiana, jambalaya. This is an experiment. I've made jambalaya before. Today, I am making it without a recipe. So it's going to be my own creativity and my memory, which is not as good as it used to be, but we'll see how that goes. And I want you to know this. I love jambalaya and gumbo, and I love it so much that I don't even want to disturb the smell, which means that even my candle, see this candle? This is from hillsviewcreations.etsy.com. Is not a paid advertisement, but anyway, these are soy candles. They are wonderful. They smell great, and they have these beautiful little. There's the woman who sells these. Her family has been riddled with cancer, and so it's kind of a big deal for her. But I haven't even lit this today because I don't want to disrupt the smell of my jambalaya. Hills View Creations, all one word. Etsy.com. I'm going to recommend them, but like I say, not a paid advertisement. Okay, jambalaya, as I understand it, was created down south in Louisiana and southern states as a way to use meat. You may notice in jambalaya and gumbo, and we're going to talk about the difference. Usually, there's a variety of meats in them. Usually it's chicken and sausage, and usually some kind of fish. Why fish? Well, they're down south. They're Louisiana, a lot of seafood. My understanding, which may be wrong, is that basically these dishes were created because they didn't have great refrigeration back then, and they needed a way to take all that leftovers, all those leftover meats, and use them before they went bad. So that means, in my mind, when I hear that, I think that means that it must be intentionally a pretty easy recipe. Because, they want to be able to throw it together quickly. So I'm going to treat it like an easy recipe. We'll see how well I do. It's an experiment. We're going to find out. I just happen to have, thanks to my friend, I gave my friend lasagna, and she still hasn't eaten it. Anyway, I have a lot of meats left over from things that she gave me, so we're gonna try this. We're gonna see what happens. So, if you're ready to play along, let's play along. Okay, we are going to be using today our Pampered Chef pressure cooker. This pressure cooker, I used to sell this kind of stuff, but my friends never supported me and bought anything, and now it's too late because this pressure cooker, I'm told, is no longer offered by Pampered Chef. So tough. That's on you, man. That's not me. But I think I'm 90% certain they have like an upgraded version, something new that kind of replaced it. Learn something kind of interesting about this, and if you're a Pampered Chef consultant, I want you to notice this. This is a silicone ring right here. When I made my friend her lasagna, my lasagna recipe always turns out to be too watery. Well, I take this silicone ring out to wash it, and I forgot to put it back in when I made my homemade spaghetti sauce for my lasagna. Now, when you do that, of course, your system cannot build up a pressure, but it's not holding in steam either. And I found that my lasagna turned out almost burned, not quite, almost burned, but it had the right amount of moisture. Before we go on, I'm going to lube. Because I like lube. I don't know about you, but lube is a good thing. So I'm just using a little bit spray on lube. We're going to do that. Now my understanding is that jambalaya is a roux-based dish. Roux, and again, this is my understanding, my memory, I may be wrong, is basically burnt butter and flour. Let's not say burnt, you basically want to brown it. Now, my pressure cooker here has a sear function. Where's my glasses? So I'm going to sear, right here, I'm going to sear, if you can see it, I'm going to sear my butter and add a little bit of flour once it melts. It's not melted yet. And basically I'm going to sear it until it starts to turn kind of brown. Once it turns brown, we're done. I also want to quench it, because once this thing starts searing, it's going to keep cooking. It's going to stay hot. So once it's done, I'm going to add my water. Now this is enough water for the rice that I'm going to add. And that's the difference between gumbo and jambalaya. Jambalaya is a rice dish. And the rice dish, I've added 4 bouillon cubes here of beef, just for that extra flavor. Jambalaya is a rice dish. So it's served with rice, and it's almost like not a casserole, but you know, something like that. Jambalaya, on the other hand, is more like a soup. So the jambalaya is served with rice on the side. So it's kind of like a chili. So let's start the sear. Where's my start? There it is. It's been too long since I've used my baby here. Okay. So we're going to start searing this. I'm going to add my butter so it melts. Once the butter melts, I'm going to add a little bit of flour and cook it all together until it starts to turn a nice light to golden brown. I use real butter, not margarine. You don't have to agree with everything I say here today, because you are certainly entitled to be wrong. This is unsalted butter. I prefer unsalted because if I want butter, I want to add it myself. That way I can control the amount of butter that's actually in there. But you can't take it away. That's why I don't use things like garlic salt or celery salt or anything like that. I just use this garlic. I use celery. Now I wanted to make this. I had the ingredients a few days ago, but the problem is I suffer from IBS. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, I always knew he was hot. And now that I know that he shits himself, how am I supposed to not fall in love? Don't do it. Don't fall in love with me. It's destined for failure, and the fates are aligned against us. And if we actually tried to get together, it would end in death and the destruction of all life on Earth. So for the little puppies, now I'm just adding flour here. For the sake of the puppies, don't fall in love with me. Okay. See, it's starting to sear here. So I'm going to stir it until it starts to turn. Ooh, look, it's already starting to turn to nice golden brown, but we're not constant stirring. This is your roux, if I remember correctly. Like I say, I'm not going off a recipe here. This is memory. I want it to get just a wee bit more brown, but not much, because this one turned into roux really quickly. Last time I did this seemed like I was stirring it forever. Apparently my sear function is kind of hot. But anything that takes a stick of butter, you know it's got to be good, right? So I don't know, do you use lube? if you do, what kind of lube do you use? Usually I like to use olive oil for my lube. But this is the original Pam, which actually came out when I was a kid. Spray on, it's basically canola oil. Alright, I'm going to kill my sear function here, just because I don't want it to get any hotter than it already is. Alright, most people don't realize there are more than 3 states of matter. One you don't hear about very often is called a plasma. That is a state of matter where it's so hot that even the molecules themselves fall apart. And you see this state. That's what flames are. Like when you burn your Hills View Creations soy candle. Hills View Creations, all one word, .etsy.com. Okay. There's also something called the glassy state, and you've seen that because it's in, guess what? Glass. The way they make that is they take crystalline, basically quartz, mostly silicon dioxide, few additives. They melt it to turn it into a liquid. You may have noticed most liquids are clear, not necessarily colorless, but clear. Then they quench it, which means they cool it down so quickly that the molecules cannot have time to realign into the crystalline state. So it's a solid stuck in the liquid state structure. So I'm going to quench this just to stop the cooking. I'm going to add my water. This is enough water for the rice that I'm going to add. Like I say, that's the difference between jambalaya and gumbo. I'm going to add rice to this. Now, let's go ahead and add my veggies. I'm using onions. These are actually, the onions are, you can find these sometimes in the freezer section. They're chopped onions, frozen. I've never found frozen green peppers. Now this green pepper I had to freeze because it was going rotten by the time I cooked. And this funny looking little guy, well, let's see if we can find another one right here. This is okra. This okra comes from Oklahoma. Okay, so let's add my veggies. And while we're at it, let's add most of our meats. Chicken and sausage. Now this is the wrong kind of sausage. This is Polish sausage. The sausage you usually use is called andouille sausage. But, like I say, I had excess sausage, and this dish is supposed to be for using up whatever meat you have in your kitchen. So I'm just using Polish sausage instead of andouille. Now, I do have shrimp. I know you were supposed to add shrimp after it's cooked. But this shrimp is frozen and uncooked shrimp. It is deveined, deshelled, and detailed. So I'm going to add that before I cook it. I know that's supposed to be wrong. I'm going to add a pinch of salt. Not much, just enough to bring out the flavor. Now, something else that you usually put into jambalaya and gumbo is diced tomatoes. So I have a can here of diced tomatoes. I'm going to open it. There it is. Pampered Chef can opener. I like the Pampered Chef can opener. Like I say, I used to sell this stuff, but I could never make a living out of it, so I gave up on it. Now, what I love about the Pampered Chef can opener. I'm going to show it to you here in a minute. It doesn't open the normal way. It opens underneath the lip. And when you're done, you cannot take the lid off. But it comes with this really cool, right down here, handy dandy little grabber. So you can grab that lid, pop it right off. Like this. Now what's really cool about this is, well, there's two things that's cool. First of all, no sharp edges. Look at that. No sharp edges. And if I don't use the whole can, you can actually kind of reseal it. Now I wouldn't trust it for long-term storage, but you can kind of reseal it as well. This is chopped, diced tomatoes. My mother would yell at me because I'm not rinsing out the can. It's already starting to smell pretty amazing. Now for my spices, here's what I like to do. I will smell my spices and add what I think would complement the flavor. I have here Cajun seasoning, which I think should be the foundation for this. I also have a jar of Creole seasoning. I don't know the difference. It's a different brand. Maybe that's the only difference. But they smell almost the same. So I'm going to add some Creole seasoning, or Cajun seasoning. Quite a bit, maybe more than I need. And I am going to add garlic, because, you know, garlic. And I use the chopped garlic, and I'm going to add, that's probably the equivalent of 4 or 5 cloves. My opinion, you cannot add too much garlic. Especially if, like me, you're trying to avoid vampires. Now, I like my food spicy, so I'm going to add cayenne pepper because it sounds more appropriate for this than red pepper. So I'm going to add a little cayenne. And it somehow feels to me like I should also add chili. So I'm going to add some chili pepper as well. Now it's safe to try this because everything in here has already been cooked. I've not added the shrimp yet. Don't have to worry about that. I've not added the rice yet. Like I say, this is jambalaya, so I have to add rice. If this was gumbo, I would leave the rice out and serve it on the side. Okay. Yeah, that tastes pretty good. That tastes pretty good. I like it. So now I'm going to add my rice first because shrimp is kind of delicate. I don't want to damage the rice when I stir it up. So I'm going to add roughly 3/4 cup of rice. Wow, that's spicy. That's going to be some good stuff. And I do have to use my shrimp before my cat Star tries to steal it. Stir that up. Add my shrimp. I'm using the whole package of shrimp, so it's probably too much shrimp. And it was frozen, it still is. That's not necessarily a good thing, but it'll work. Stir that in. And I believe I have jambalaya. All that remains is to cook it. Okay, and here we go. I double checked my lid to make sure that yes, my silicone is in. Now, jambalaya is not on my menu, obviously. But I think the closest I have is stewed chili. So I'm going to set this to stewed chili. There's, in case you're curious, sear, steam, slow cooker. Actually, slow cook is a good idea. Should I go to slow cook? It's 40 minutes for stew. Slow cook defaults to 4 hours. Okay, that's too long. So let's go to stew chili. White rice, brown rice, whole grains, chicken, poultry, beef, pork, fish, seafood, soup, stock, beans. I have it on stew. And dessert. Yes, I have made more cheesecakes in this than you can imagine. Make sure this pressure relief valve is closed. And we are cooking. We are good to go. Now, here's Star. Everybody say hi, Star. You don't get any shrimp. Oh, she's mad because she's cleaning herself and I'm putting her on the web. Okay, this is like for the fetish sites. Ooh, Pornhub, cat licking herself. Ooh, okay. I'll probably cut that out, but maybe, well, probably not. Okay, listen, I'm gonna wait for this to cook. I'll be back. So what do you think? Should we try this out? Maybe. Now, the thing about these is you have to relieve the pressure before you open it. This has finished cooking about half an hour ago. I did not want to open it because I wanted it to lose pressure naturally. The other thing you can do is take up the pressure release valve yourself. But you can see that it has no pressure. Oh, look at this. This looks pretty amazing, y'all. This looks almost as amazing as the Hills View Creations at Etsy.com. Okay. And here it is. Oh, look at that. Take some of this out of it. Oh, it smells wonderful. I'm smelling that shrimp, man. Oh boy, does this smell good. And let's see what we think about this, huh? Smells good. Ooh. I'm gonna try some rice. I'm gonna leave the meat out. Just want to try the rice, just for the spicy. See how it goes. Wow, that's spicy. This is still hot. I don't know if you can see the steam coming up off that thing or not. I have to go a little slow. Oh. Incredible. Okay, you know what? I need to eat this, so I am